So, Daddy, tell me, what is your end of 2020? What is the end of year message that you have?
End of year message. Vaheguru. I first of all, it depends on who is going to be hearing this. Because at the moment, what is preoccupying my mind is the march of the farmers in India. Because it is very strange that the the mainstream media has not picked it up. And I mean, you keep hearing reports that there are literally millions, very large numbers. In fact, this is probably the biggest march that ever has taken place. How come the mainstream media is silent about it? And the horrendous conditions under which this march is taking place, with COVID on top of it, and it is bitter winter at the moment, yet it will appear that the establishment is totally indifferent to what is happening. What's going to happen, I do not know. That's why 2021 is a year where I believe that every Sikh, anyway, anyone's in my sort of a position, because the ones in India are already doing something about it. But what about the ones sitting outside? And especially the younger generation, most of whom are quite happy with the lives that they lead without really realizing what is happening in India. The thing is that the media, the establishment will try and do all sorts of things. They are a powerful machinery. If they can stop the global media from putting this out in the world, that means they are a very powerful machine. But we have been faced with such odds in the past. The thing which is coinciding with this is the 400th birth anniversary of Guru Tegh Bahadur. And it's quite amazing how the two events can be linked together from a Sikh perspective. Guru Tegh Bahadur was fighting against a very unjust, cruel empire. And he showed us a way to fight, which was the genuine passive resistance, in the sense that it's not about the weaponry that you have, but it is to say that something is wrong and I can do something about it, and he paid with it with his life. Now this is against the Mughal Empire. Sikhs have always had, India might say they are a democracy, but that's a sham really. It's not a democracy. And again, don't get me wrong, I do not like to get into the politics of things. This is a humanitarian movement. We have faced the British. Briefly, we had our own empire, Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Khalsa Raj. Of course, then again the British. And sad to say that even after independence, India has operated like an empire. We had the Nehru dynasty, and now of course we have Mr. Modi who is in charge. But the fact is, it's an establishment, and it will appear that the British did more for the farmers than what is happening to them since. The media and the establishment, Indian media, which is very biased, will try and turn this into a Sikh movement. It's not. This is a movement of the farmers. All right. It is spearheaded by the Sikhs simply because Punjab has always been called the breadbasket of India. And even though it was a desert which was reclaimed, and thanks to the British, they built canals so that we came up with bumper crop to put food on the tables of every Indian. But now the momentum is that you have farmers from other states, from Rajasthan, from Bihar, from Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, everywhere, Madhya Pradesh. They are converging on the capital, yet the establishment is standing firm and doing nothing about it. the reason why this is so fresh in my mind is because I was reading an article written by Tayaji, who of course is Sardar Gurmukh Singh, and he quoted a line from Bhagata Bhai Gurdas, the scribe of the original Adi Granth. And in English it says, "The earth is burdened with the weight of the ungrateful, who are the worst of bad people." The earth is burdened with the weight of the ungrateful, who are the worst of bad people. Pare pue kirtakan mandi hu mande. Now, when the British were ruling, the Sikhs gave contributions in terms of sacrifices far larger than the population that they are. And now the Sikhs are spearheading this movement. Apparently 25 million are marching.
25
BBC
million.
report, 25 million are on the move. Okay, this is a BBC report, by the way. And so it can't be all Sikhs, because Sikhs are barely, 20 million. So it can't be all Sikhs. So there is a problem there. Now, what can the Sikhs of the rest of the world do to become more understanding of this situation, this problem? And if nothing else, they can at least say their prayers for these farmers. There used to be a slogan in India called Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. Jai Jawan. Jawan means the soldier. Jai Jawan. The soldier defending the frontiers of India. Jai Kisan means the farmer who puts food on the table. Originally, even the Jawan was a Sikh, the Kisan was a Sikh as well. But now it is all of India. I mean, the point is, this is an Indian problem. It is not a Sikh against Hindu problem. It's an Indian problem, because you are destroying the livelihood of the farmer who puts food on your table. As Sikhs, we can do something about it. And we can do something about the 400th birth anniversary of Guru Tegh Bahadur, which is on the 1st of April, by the way. 1st of April 2021, 400 years. And the contribution of that man, because when he set out to Delhi, it wasn't for the Sikhs, it was for Hindustan, it was for the whole country. Otherwise the whole country would have become Islam. Now he saved the country at that time. Now the Sikhs are spearheading this movement again to save the farmer who puts food on the table. I think that is how we need to look at this. And social media is flooding the whole world because of eyewitness accounts of what is happening to these farmers who are being stopped from going to Delhi to present their case. And yes, there are 3 draconian laws, and the laws should be wiped out. The laws are unfair. They will make the middleman richer and fatter, and they will make the farmer a slave of the middleman. Because they are not even allowed to go to the law courts to fight against the middleman. They have to go to a public servant, a government servant, and corruption is rampant. Who is the public servant going to listen to? The farmer or the rich middleman who is in a position to corrupt him? This is the situation there. All right. So 400th anniversary of Guru Tegh Bahadur is something that we should consider very, very carefully. And how are we going to celebrate that? That becomes the greatest event where the Sikhs of the globe are concerned. So that is my main message where the Sikh community is concerned, and a greater awareness for all the others who are prepared to listen to what we have to say.
And so for the Sikh youth, your end of 2020 message?
Okay, Sikh youth, all right. Number 1 applies. For Sikh youth, what I have seen over the last year is, with this pandemic, of course, Sikh youth are also affected. But something which your sister, Hassel, told me one day, which made great sense to me. She said, "Dad, as soon as you have a problem, you ask yourself, is this a first world problem or is this a third world problem?" Let me explain. When the pandemic struck and there was a run on the supermarkets, what was the first thing which went off the shelves?
Toilet paper.
Toilet rolls, right? That's a first world problem. There was bigger concern of finding toilet paper to clean your backsides, right? Up till the age of 20, 19, 20, I did not know what toilet rolls were. We used to wash with water. Of course, clean your hands afterwards, but it's part of your body. So I was bemused by the fact that the first thing that they ran out of
In the first world.
in the first world was toilet paper. What would it be in the third world?
Dal.
Dal. Dal and roti. Okay? That would have been the first concern. Now, the second biggest concern in Australia, in these Western countries, first world countries, second concern was how long should somebody be able to go to a hairdressing salon to get their facials and their hair done? That was the second biggest concern. And you know our ScoMo,
Yeah.
he was wanting first, initially he said half an hour. There was a big hue and cry. Okay, you can go in for treatment for 45 minutes. That was the first concern. Right? Now that's a first world problem. So what I'm trying to say to the youngsters is, as soon as you have some kind of a problem, these days the posh thing is go to your shrink. Every posh Westerner has a shrink. So if you have some mental problems, you're having problems with your girlfriends, or you're having problems at home, you go and see a shrink, right? Or you pick up legal cases and all that sort of thing. In the third world, the question is survival. Are your basic necessities met? Right? The first world, they hum and ha and they make a great lot of noise of boy and girl getting together if the parents have some input into it. You mean to say you are in a arranged marriage and you become very laughable. It's a very laughable thing. Oh my God, that is very embarrassing. Don't you trust yourself in doing such things? And yet in the first world, men and women are not able to find each other. They have to go to computer sites. So it's a first world problem. I'm not saying the first world is bad. Take the full benefit of it. But when it comes to your own personal, especially mental problems that are created, ask yourself the question, is it a first world problem or is it a third world problem? If it's a first world problem, then I think you made a statement, drink a cup of concrete.
Have a cup of concrete.
Have a cup of concrete, all right? That means those are problems which you have created yourself. It is better to live a very simple life, take the full benefit of the first world, but try sometimes to move back into the third world on sheer survival, because the third world also says, look within yourself, look into your spirituality. The first world takes it for granted. Come Christmas Day, the most important thing to everyone is good food, good drink, and presents. The spiritual aspect of it is all totally gone. I'm asking you, look into your spiritual selves. Look into yourselves in terms of your own mortality. I think that's the best message I can do for 2021.
ਮੁਰਦਾ ਕੌਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ